supporting a specific political party. It's basically what I'm trying to tell you now. If you look at especially subcontinent, there are a lot of changes happening, right? And especially with this political people, corruption. I don't want to put it into different words, but there are so many things happening. But change is also happening. Specifically after staying for a very long time abroad, when I just returned to Sri Lanka for very short term, then I saw there's a huge changes happening. And when we connect to with the, I would say rather influencers, they can really change the whole political, the political, what do you call the policies, whatever the laws, where we can really do a very good contribution that will change a huge community, right? So I'm getting an opportunity now. So I thought of if we all can do something about it. I think that will benefit not just a small family or a small community. It will benefit the whole country. I would rather say it will impact everyone. That will also create an opportunity for us to actually enjoy what we do. So it's a thought. I am not sure it will add into the which bucket you have, but I think it's a holistic. It's actually on the top. It will impact everything, AI or the global warming, whatever we have listed there. So it's a thought for everybody. So let me know if you can do it. I think it's at the end of the day, if you have very good networking, if you are really capable of connecting with the people. For example, I have a connection even to the current president. We have it in Sri Lanka. To that level, I can do it. So just to give an examples, okay. So then we should do, because that you will not get it every time, right? So whenever you have an opportunity, you must do it, because that will benefit everyone. So just a thought, Omar. So let me hear from you how we can approach this.
Thank you, Usman. And I can't disagree with anything that you said. And that's exactly why we have a policy solutionist community. Because what I'm expecting, and as a lateral thinker myself, some of the problems that we are talking about would need a combination of solutions, and some would need a policy change and influence on country policy, state policy, even potentially to United Nations to drive the agenda globally. And you're right, the networks that we bring, and I wouldn't claim too much on this. The people that I know who are part of our group already, we have relevant influence in the required circles. And wherever we don't, we'll have to work on that. That's what solutionists do. So while you mentioned that we are trying to solve problems of the world, I would break it down to say, let's solve problems of our village or neighborhood or city or state, province, country, because it all builds up to eventually. So it doesn't have to be just taking on the biggest problem, biggest scope. It really depends on what motivates you. And when I say you, I mean everybody in the call and whoever will listen to the recording later. Maybe your utopia is your own self. Maybe your utopia is your own family. Uh, it's totally fine. The objective is that how you see as your optimal scope, which you want to work on. And the community is going to help you find people who have similar scopes and aspirations so that we can bring people together. And yes, some problems would require a policy change, and hence lateral thinking would require us to say, okay, this refined problem requires a policy change, a technology implementation, a development of human capital of some sort for training. And together that team then starts working on solving that problem, each in their own solution area. So whatever you're saying is already part of what I have as a vision for Utopia. But thanks for re-emphasizing that. I'm happy to take some more feedback, by the way. This is not like a question to me kind of a session. This is very much of a engagement type of a session. So any thoughts that anybody else has on Usman's comment first before we take Umair's question? Yes, Atif, please go ahead, please. You're on mute, Atif, if you're speaking. If you can please unmute yourself, Atif. I can't unmute you. Atif, you're on mute. Sorry if you're speaking. Yes.
Yes. I was recently worked out from a group of companies named Microsoft and Gatonova. They recently shuttered down their new ID venture, Microsoft, just lack of government policies and shuttered down the Upwork and private accounts. And this affect the overall sales of
Mm,
other of other ID companies just just recent open and they were not getting so much projects right
okay,
now.
okay,
So do you get improper policies and all that? And we strongly, I strongly agree that that we Pakistanis have more technical knowledge than other countries, and we are
mm,
capable to work on any platform. But due to our government and corruption, we can't do much good for our community and for country.
sure. No, I understand. So Atif, what I would recommend is you capture this in the problem space. This is a problem space in itself that the IT policy in Pakistan, if I understand your question correctly, is
Yeah, yeah,
currently not encouraging the the ability to get projects for IT companies, even though
yes,
the talent is there. That I think that's what you're trying to say. If
yes.
I'm
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I think that's a problem space in itself. And I can already
Mm,
confirm to you that there are people in the group who represent Pasha or the IT access to the
yeah,
IT ministry who can actually influence this policy. There's a lot of opportunity in changing policy, and while you can look at the negative side, I like to look at the glass half full. There are enough
mm,
ears in the Planning Commission or in the economy, the Ministry of Economy, who are generally
mm,
interested to grow IT exports.
mm.
And by the way, this is not a problem in just Pakistan. From the lens that I have, this is becoming, protectionist economies of
Yes.
the world are struggling with this. The policymakers do not understand the opportunity of technology,
Mm.
and hence the policy making that is happening is not considering what is required to enable a familiar
Yeah.
environment to drive. So it's not just a problem in Pakistan, by the way, but I understand that that's the scope that you're working in. It's probably
Mm,
affecting you. So I would
mm.
recommend you spend some time today to get into the problem space and
Okay.
create this as a problem space to work on. Inshallah, you will
Mm,
see people communicate, ask questions, what kind of policy can be improved, and there are people listening in the solutions committee. So please
mm.
capture this in the
Okay.
digital space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Usman, I think message to you also that if you feel that some particular specific policy making has to happen, then please capture that in the problem space and somebody would inshallah pick it up. The idea is to build engagement around it. Atif
Yeah,
Mukhtar,
sure.
please go ahead. I think
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum Salam. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, Atif, I will continue from your point that Pakistan IT policies are not in compliance with the international standards. So, what I would suggest is keeping in view the security situation and everything going on in the global arena, we need to have a firewall in place which will enable us to protect our infrastructure and our machines and every software that we are running on our infrastructure in Pakistan. So maybe there's a hiccup for that, and people are getting frustrated because they are not able to connect to Fiverr or any other platform to get projects. But this is essential for us to have this kind of policy in place. So that's what I would suggest to just hang in there. You will have your piece of cake, but it will take time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the positivity, Atif. I think this is the mindset that is
Nice.
required for problem solving.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Mer, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Umair Khalid. Just a little question about the process for adding the problems to this list, because I can right now think about 3-4 problems that I can relate to, and I think that they should be on the list. So is this a final list, or is it still evolving, or is there a process to add the problems to this list?
There is the only process is if it feels you feel strong about it, just put it there. That's the process. And anybody else who you will find people who resonate with it because that's community. That's how community works. The only thing that should drive you is that what is the world that my children are going into? This is how I motivate myself. What are the problems that are important for the generation that is coming after us? And let's put it in the space so we can try and solve it, probably with the help of that generation as well. So there is no, blockers. We are open-minded right now.
Fine, thank you.
Okay. So if we want to spend some time, I don't see any other hands, but any other problem that is looking something that you want to talk about today? Otherwise, I'll pick one. The idea is for a conversation.
I think I can pick one. I think there are a few problems recently faced by Pakistanis for traveling. If you see, there are many visa related issues, and even if you get the visa, there are many notifications and the policies that come each day from the authorities, and people who are traveling, even if they have visas, they have tickets, they have everything, they're not certain about they'll get the boarding card or not. So I've recently faced a few of them when my parents were traveling, and myself was traveling. So I think this is something that to increase the certainty in traveling or related to visa and the tickets and everything. So I think that is one thing that can be worked on, because many of your plans are dependent on that, and it becomes a little you can say you can be a little anxious, you can be uncertain, you can be unorganized if you're not sure that in the 15 days will you be able to travel or not. So I think this is one critical problem to solve, especially for Pakistan.
Just
It's
to
actually a
understand,
pretty
Umair,
wicked problem.
yeah, sorry, Umar, I just want to understand, Umair, is it happening to you inside the Pakistan or in the arriving destination?
It's I think it's related to if you are having the Pakistani passports, then all the policies related to specifically to Pakistani passport that applies to you. And but the problem intensifies if you're traveling from the Pakistani airports. Like there are few notifications currently issued regarding you. You should have the same airline return ticket. You should have this much amount. So every day, those immigration officers, they have few new notifications, and they have the inconsistent, you can say, checklist. They allow one person to go, next person they stop. So you're never sure what questions are being asked. So you don't have
Or
enough certainty to plan your trips.
it's more of a local issue because of another problem I have. I have a few stuff in Pakistan, and unfortunately, I wanted to send them to Dubai for a assignment. Then the Dubai government, actually, the UAE government has very, I don't know, very strange. They have blacklisted certain areas in Pakistan. They cannot travel to Dubai. I just recently come to know. So that's what I asked you whether it's a local issue. It looks like something. It's a regional issue, right? So okay, just
Yeah,
want to understand.
UAE is a classic case. I think the current acceptance ratio I've heard is 4 out of 100 Pakistanis are getting the UAE visa. I'm not sure
Yeah,
how
yeah.
true it is, but yeah, but this is one.
And specific province they are picking, actually. That's the issue I have now. Okay, fine. Good. You highlighted to me how it works there. I think myself and Umar, we are both come from a travel background, especially with the airline background. We know few areas how we can handle this. Inshallah, let's see how we can support. I will also put some inputs there. Especially, I have some good stuff in Pakistan, very good stuff. They work for me remotely, but when I want to take them for the on-site, it's a huge challenge, actually. Good. Thanks for the input. And okay, Umar, over to you.
Thanks, Asman. I think Binesh has a comment and then we'll go back to Atif. Binesh, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and it's a
Morning.
great pleasure to be part of this group. I just wanted to highlight one small thing. It's not just travel. Last month, I ordered some clothes from Pakistan, which were delivered to me in Riyadh. And when I tried to follow up, there was a huge delay in delivery of those clothes. They were simple clothes from different designers back in Pakistan. And I was told from Zetka that there is enhanced inspection on the cartons which are coming from Pakistan. So it's not just travel ban, it's also all these things. Maybe it's just the reputation or the scenario or the political situation which is there. But all these enhanced measures are happening with Pakistani people and Pakistani products.
Okay. Okay. Let's capture that. This is actually a pretty wicked problem, what we call. It's not as straightforward as one country being hard on the other one. A lot of mutual foreign policy comes in, but also it's the experience and behavior of a smaller set of people in the country, which actually impacts then policies of other countries. And if we talk about UAE in particular, and I've experienced this myself, unfortunately, recently that due to some inappropriate behaviors of our fellow countrymen, it is actually causing then scrutiny on all the other countrymen. And we have lived in this reality, I would say, since 9/11 and probably after that. But that is then the reality of life. What I have learned, and Usman kind of hinted it, we've worked in airlines for a long time. What I have learned is that when you want to solve such problems, you do something which US has done. And I remember there was a huge change we had to do in our systems where there was a pre-screening of people. So US has one of the largest number of tourists or people who travel into US who are not US nationals. It is actually one of those big countries where a lot of people go. So it was simply not administratively possible to process visas for all the people that they want to go. So there is a pre-screening mechanism that they introduced. And that actually led to, and I think a lot of technology people are here, so I can speak a little bit of tech, where a pre-screened individual then is given an ID. It's like a specific number that is allocated with that individual coming from whatever nationality. It's not nationality driven. And that number needs to be put into the ticket record or the immigration entry and exit, wherever that is going. And that number is checking with the US immigration system. Now, it sounds a very sophisticated way to solve this problem, but actually that works. Once the screening is done of a person coming from whichever part of the world, then they get free kind of, a bit more different level of easier scrutiny on that. I think countries like Pakistan, and there are a lot like that, and thanks, Bobby, for sharing your views in the chat. It's not just Pakistan, by the way. We feel it because we are Pakistanis, but there are the level of security across the world, whether it's people or goods, and Bina shared her experience of cargo, it's just increasing. And actually, the technology needs to respond, and this is a typical situation for AI to step in, because the level of filtering and scrutiny that needs to happen cannot be done by human beings. We need technology to actually come in and speed this up and ease the whole process of screening individuals, and obviously being able to catch the culprits, because we all want to live in a much safer world. It's not just a particular nationality. We are seeing terrorism or inappropriate use of travel and the opportunity of the world becoming global, coming from all parts of the world. It is not just Pakistan, and hence that is causing a higher stress on the immigration authorities, the border controls of the world, and it's just a result of all that. So I know we feel it because we are Pakistanis, and most of the people here are coming from that background. It's actually a developing problem in the world. It's a real complex problem. I will let somebody else speak up. I saw Sakib just raising his hand. Please, Sakib, go ahead.
Yeah, I think some of the points raised really, I mean, this is the first time I'm joining in, so I mean, some pretty interesting conversations so far. On the point about pre-screening, I think that's something a fairly good idea from a how do you enable a certain population to travel with hassle-free? I mean, that's something that's pretty interesting. I think the challenge of using AI though on this is the amount of data that is available. Unfortunately or fortunately, the data that is available in the majority of the network for Pakistanis is not positive. That's the problem. So unless data sort of applies, and it sort of also, when you think about AI only thinks from a statistical point of view. So the better the stats, the better the ability for a certain population to travel. So I think from that perspective, we need to think about how do we actually, and this could be thinking from a technology solutions perspective, it's more about how do you actually enable to create better data that can enable, a better visualization or better perspective of, Pakistanis in general. I think that would be my 2 cents on this.
I think you make a great point, Saqib. And to be honest, my mind goes into beyond AI as well. Just the reputation and brand of a Pakistani professional. We all see amazing Pakistani professionals all around the world, and we engage with them. We get inspired by them. Like even in this group, mashallah, we've got great people coming from all over the world. But there is just generally a branding problem, which I think we have to own, especially people who are sitting outside Pakistan. We have to own this problem because we are outside and we actually suffer the most also in terms of the scrutiny that goes along. So this is a solvable problem in my view. I am usually a very optimist kind of a person. It just needs a bit of focused marketeers, branding, some investment obviously behind to have a counter narrative to what the social media populace is kind of taking towards. And then unfortunately the AI is learning from that. So if that's what the populace thinks and communicates and has a bias towards a particular nationality, and I think this can apply to non-Pakistani other nationalities as well, then there needs to be a counter narrative or a real or a different point of view. And I think that's actually the problem, which inshallah will turn into the AI world as well, and then the data will create, and we'll have a other side of the picture as well, so to say. Go ahead, Saqib. I know you have something else.
One other element that was mentioned earlier about the exports. I think and it sort of links back to Umar, what you mentioned about branding. And we take the example of how India actually started, right? So if you go back, I'm talking about 15 years ago, where majority of the tech hubs started building up in India. It was basically the ability for brand ambassadors to be actually in each country, in each sector, in each industry. You'd be amazed about how many, let's say, ambassadors are there to present and promote specifically the whole idea of how India does technology or becoming a tech hub. I think we're way behind if you think about from a Pakistan point of view. The whole idea is how do you promote, and that promotion needs to happen at an industry level, at the country level, at even a competency level or specific, let's say, specialization level. I think those things are going to help drive a better way of, let's say, even exports from that point of view. But I think it all sort of combines together or comes together when I think, Umar, how you mentioned brand. I think that's a very key point.
Yeah, and I think this is a good time to introduce our solution space. So what the kind of discussion we just had is actually in the solution space. Parallel.utopia.utopia/solutions. Then we have actually created 4 parallel spaces there. If you go there, so if you go to our solution space, we are trying to structure that as well. I think what Saqib just mentioned has an element of, I don't know, maybe we need a marketing space now. We haven't created that yet, but policy, process, people, and technology is where we started. But we can start creating these solution spaces of maybe we need our marketeers, to come in, and our people who brand and do PR, so to say, and do it at a scale. not at individual, but with a strategy, with a PR strategy, which actually starts promoting the right messaging and bringing the right stories ahead and the success stories. And I appreciate how, Sakib, you mentioned how India did it. I think there's lots to learn there. I totally agree that they grabbed the opportunity of BPO and call center when the time was good, but they have come a long way from that, and they have made mistakes, but they have learned from that. And I think that is a case study in itself to learn from, because they are much bigger in population. And to be able to brand a country with all, it's not that it's a perfect country, no country is perfect, but being able to promote the right messages and being able to now get those people in those positions of influence who are now continuing is a case study. And I think there is definitely some learnings that we can pick from that. That's a great point you make there, Sakib. I would let somebody else speak up, so maybe let's go to Omar Paul. Omar, if you can please share what you're trying to share. You're on mute, Omar.
Apologies. Thank you, Omar. I think when I put my hand up, you actually started talking about this very topic. I think the issue with Pakistan at this moment is this brand, right? This trust. And you have to think about, and I'm often in a position where I have to choose support from an offshore entity. And quite often there will be a company from Pakistan, a company from India, a company from Eastern Europe as well, particularly. And we have to make choices on who we give the work to, right? And often trust becomes an issue. So there's a number of, and I think this is something for the solution space as well. Brand is one thing, but brand is built by good reasoning. So for instance, one of the big reasons why work doesn't go to Pakistan is because fear of data protection, right? So India, for example, made a concerted effort to show the world that it has good data protection policies in place. That was one of the things. Second thing is financial transactions. Transacting with a country, is it safe? Sending money, receiving money, making sure things are received and goods are received. And the brand ambassador thing, somebody, Atif brought up this topic as well. I think this is an absolute necessity. So there are a number of things that we could do to make that situation better, most definitely. But it's getting to that root cause. And that's what I wanted to just come to the solutions piece as well is, we have a great space for the issues. I think what would be really good if people were to also comment on this space, identifying some of the root causes, and then these root causes can be addressed. So one of the things that I'm doing, for example, I just wanted to share this example. I'm doing some advisory work here for the government of Dubai, specifically on ESG matters. So the idea is, how do we use technology to enable ESG mandates for the government? And one of the ways which we're doing it is actually to use a matchmaking type of approach, where these problem statements, which you've already got, which are great, by the way, they're published, and people start looking at root causes and essentially crafting projects. So what they do then is they publish these projects, which go through some kind of validation and approval, and that becomes a space for matchmaking. So we have great people on this community. There might be a project, for example, around being able to do blood diagnosis in faraway places where there's no labs, for example. There are millions of people dying all over the world, diseases, all sorts. How do we get a diagnosis system out there which doesn't require a big lab, for example? And I'm actually actively working on this project with somebody. We publish the project, and then you have people in the community who say, you know what, I can help because I've got connections in this country, or I can help because I can provide the AI expertise that would support this. And it becomes a matchmaking space. So I just wanted to just propose that, Omar. I know that we're probably working towards this, but coming back to the Pakistan thing, I think there are a number of root causes. If we can identify them, tackle them one by one, we should be able to reestablish a brand. Pakistan used to have a great brand, 30, 40 years ago. It was a flagship brand. In fact, Emirates Airline, as you know, started from PIA because PIA was the best airline at the time, and the UAE wanted to model its airline on the way Pakistan runs things. So we had a great brand, and I think it's about re-establishing that brand, re-establishing that credibility. So that's all I wanted to say. Sorry, I know I put my hand up when you were talking about the same thing, but yeah.
No, that's great additions, Omar, and it's good to have you. Uh, I really I agree. The problems will be refined with root cause analysis. That's exactly how you get to the root of it. We have used these techniques at work all the time. Cause and effect, fishbone, five why. We'll use all the expertise that we have available, as strategists and consultants to get into the detail of the problem. So I think as a general point, we'll take some notes. Manur is here. We'll in fact improve that narrative at the top of the problem space that as people are commenting below, they can put their root cause analysis hat on so that while we are refining the problem, we actually try to identify the root cause of it. This is a great addition and it will inshallah improve our process. Okay, let's see who else has raised a hand. Kamal Khan Saab, yes, please go ahead. Good to have you, sir.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And I'm actually
Morning.
thrilled to be. Sorry, can you hear me well?
Yes, sir. You're
Yeah,
very
thank
audible.
you.
Please go.
Thank you. So I'm actually thrilled being a part of this group, and uh, I was having a look at that problem space and everything. So yeah, so obviously we are utopians, as you said. So but the problems do not have to be utopian. So like Umar was saying, it has to have a solution, and the solution space uh, is one of the most important things and one of the most missing links in any of such forums and discussions, because we can raise millions of problems, and when you talk of Pakistan, I think there is no point honestly in raising a problem with Pakistan, because the root cause always lies with the sort of the mindset which the government of Pakistan and the bureaucracy, or you name it. So there is no point, because there are so many problems, and like traveling to Dubai or whatever it is, we generally do the branding issue is there, but technically the integrity issue. I work with an Australian company. I help them, recruiting some for some high level roles. So the thing is that, yeah, as Omar Paul was saying, when it comes to options in the recruitment space as well, we are like, when we have options from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Philippines, India. So, and I am not very happy to share this, Pakistan is generally removed from the list right away, just at the start of proceedings, because there are number of issues, the financial transactions, and the logistics and delivery of goods. But I would like to highlight here another issue, which is, and I'm not very happy to highlight this actually. It is the general attitude and integrity of the workforce which comes into question, because and these are experiences from Australians and New Zealand, which I'm sharing. So I mean, let's move forward from this. There are a number of issues. There has to be a training, a mindset has to be developed, and there are a lot of things that need to be done. But I think I've been privileged to be a part of a number of such forums, and I would like to honestly give here a fact about all of such initiatives. They do not usually last for like they they last at most for 1 year, and this is what I've seen. Now, what's the reason behind it? The reason behind it is that, fine, the problems are too big to be handled by even a country. So I don't think, I'll be very realistic over here, I don't think 50, 60, 70, 80, maybe 800 people can, sort of, we can write all sort of problems, but we do not have the capacity, we do not have the resources to actually even, work upon any one of this problem. AI's impact on climate, that's a huge issue. So we do not have those resources, and honestly, we do not have that time. I'll be very candid about it. We do not have that sort of time. Individually, we can Try having this session every week, and the participants, including myself, shall be reduced drastically, because we do not have that kind of time. Everybody is, busy. So my take on it is that, why don't yeah, and this is obviously one way of thinking on it, and it's not obviously final, but what I think of it is that in order for any such community to survive, we should, rather than highlighting this level of problems, and because we do not have solutions, we can only talk on it, perhaps make some ppts or whatever. But that there will be no solution, because that is out of the scope of our commitment and resources, whatever you call it. But if we can float some projects like Omar was saying, and I think someone previously also said this, that if we can have a page where we have some projects, because all of us are in their own domain, working in some space, with some maybe own company or with some other company, who have certain projects in which we would like to have participation, in which we would like to have some uh, I don't know, research, or maybe some sort of a uh, practical involvement opportunity. So I think that should keep everybody's interest alive. Number one. Number two, since it will be potentially, spilling out opportunities for all, so that will also make things more tangible, in the sense that if somebody is willing to spend some time in such a community, then there would be some sort of commercial tangibility involved. Well, because if honestly, if even if a community does not have a business plan, it is very difficult to survive in today's world. Interest will be lost and the community will be gone. And so this is what I have seen. So these were my 2 cents. I'm thankful for all of you to listening to all of this. So that's it, Omar. Thank you for giving me that time.
Thank you, Kaman Saab, and I have always appreciated your advice. As you know, but very practical, and but these kind of risks that you're identifying were also highlighted in our introductory meeting. And actually, I agree with you. There's nothing to disagree that such initiatives start somewhere and they lose steam over time because not enough motivation, not enough incentivization. And those are the things that obviously I am very concerned about to address, because I am not in this for just getting people together and getting serotonin released every 2 weeks with the happy chemicals so we can have good lives. I have a very practical implementation plan. And as I'm not sure if you were here from the beginning, but the objective is to create businesses out of what we are trying to do. And everybody will find themselves somewhere in the value chain. We need enough people to be able to, with volunteerism at the moment, because yes, there is no incentive to get on this call at the moment other than self-actualization and fulfillment. But we need enough of these kind of people to help identify the right problems, lateral thinkers to be able to convert and connect them to potential problem spaces, and then experts in each of the areas to define and refine the potential solutions to get to a point where we can see a project that you're talking about. So we need to still work in venture building in this first phase of the work, which converts complex problems to manageable problems to a product solution market fit, and then eventually to pitches which investors can see and put money behind so we can solve. So it's a value chain, and people will find their own incentives in which part of the value chain. At the moment, for people like me, and hopefully I'm hoping a few people like others, they find their incentive in this beginning part, which we are in. We are in community building, we're trying to identify problem spaces, and any contribution is valuable contribution. And as we go along, I'm sure there'll be other people who will find the necessary incentives as we going, because I'm in it for the long run, and I'm finding, inshallah, more people who are in it for the long run to convert and create whatever impact we create in limited circles, as I mentioned, maybe just in your neighborhood, or as big enough as the world, and now we are even talking about Mars now, by the way. So I'm trying to be very practical about it, but I think there needs to be a bigger vision to start from. And yes, it's another attempt. Yes, it's you have seen many of these before, but I just appreciate your presence here and keeping us real. We do need this kind of experience and advice to keep it real as well, and not get carried away with just the the visiony aspects. I really appreciate that. I think there's good engagement going on in the chat box as well. I'm not able to follow, but it will all be recorded as well. Let's get Adil in. Adil, sorry you've raised your hand for a while. Please go ahead. Please share your views.
That's all right. Thank you so much for having me here. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the guys here. My name is Adil Khan. This is my first time joining in, so I just want to have a very quick introduction. I'm from Sydney, Australia, running a small business here. Good to see a lot of my badge mates and few of the teachers there, which is an amazing thing. The issue I was, and I'm going to second Kamran Saab on this thing, the incentives should be there. One of the things that I posted in there is related to a direct flight to Pakistan. We were discussing the travel and the issues of travel and the visas and everything. There is a big opportunity out there to start with a lot of experience I heard from the guys on the call right now is with the travel side of the things. And if you can streamline this sort of opportunity only in a seasonal manner, say during the Christmas holidays or Easter holidays and stuff like that, we would get a good opportunity in terms of a business, and it would be highly useful for a community here in Sydney or largely in Australia. So that is one of the things I want to just add here. That's about it. So yeah, really looking forward for these sessions. Make it more productive. Yeah.
Thank you, Adil. Thank you for your contribution. And what I would recommend is you capture this on the problem spaces on the Padlet, because even though I'm recording this, but it's very difficult for just one person and Manur to capture all that we're discussing. So let's work in a community style and capture these digitally on the Padlets. I really appreciate your inputs.
I've already.
Atif, I think you wanted to add something more. I'm sorry you've been waiting. Please go ahead, Atif Mukhtar.
Yeah, I think what we need to understand is when we talk about globalization, we need to understand that we are talking about global challenges as well, not just Pakistan, but all over the world. Because earlier, when I was in US around 15 years ago, there was a situation where US market was having a recession, and people were thinking of building their own economy. When we are talking about building your own economy, we mean to say that you need to have job market in place to have your people working, and then you generate money out of it. But the outsourcing concept that other outsourcing partners like India or Pakistan or Eastern Europe are doing is actually a negative side of the economy building. So people over there were thinking of not going for an outsourcing project, but in using a on-site project just to make things happen in their own country. This not only includes the global challenge, but also includes the border protection mechanism that they are having in place, that they have people working there in their economy and following the rules and regulations or governance policies that people have highlighted, that data protection mechanism should be there, firewall mechanism should be there. All these kind of functionality should be in place for the economy to build. So that's what I was suggesting, that when we're talking about global, we need to talk about global challenges, not just Pakistan. Traveling is one part of it. We are having issues while traveling, but still there are other challenges that people are facing, like outsourcing and everything else. So we can focus on that as well.
Thank you, Atif. And that's exactly the lens that we have kept, is not just local or not just global. I think you make a great point. So when we are identifying problems, if you notice, if you try to capture something on the Padlet, it forces you to think about, is this problem a global problem or is this problem a particular country problem, etc., etc. And eventually you can actually capture individual and inner circle problems as well. So unless we look at it from a wider horizon, we may not be able to solve them. And I think that's a very good addition to looking at the problem as a global problem, the traveling problem that you mentioned. It's not just Pakistanis or Pakistan. Thanks for sharing that. Abdullah, please go ahead. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
So,
How are you all? Inshallah, fine. I'm Abdullah, a data professional from Kuwait. And I just agreed with Mr. Kamran. He stated a very realistic point. And how I'm seeing this community is, Umar bhai, you have created a community on a very nice place. As much as I've explored Patet, it seems to be a very solid platform. And you have captured the problems over there. And like the platform that we have for stating the problems over there is pretty nice. What I would brainstorm on top of this is that all of us should be working towards choosing a problem, okay? And like maybe make a poll out of it or something. Then once we have chosen a problem that falls within our interests and like satisfies and is falling within our domains as well, like we have enough capabilities over here to fulfill that requirement of the problem, then we can work on it together. Now, I know that like, again, we will be choosing a problem which we can solve together. So that would be nice as well. So I think moving towards that direction, like how I'm seeing this, would be a great addition.
thank you. Abdullah, in fact, that is exactly how it's going to work. And not everybody needs to solve all problems. Some problems interest other people more than others. So the engagement on the platform is meant for this, that the problems that are attracting you, which you feel resonate with you, then you can start commenting on that. There's also a voting mechanism. So if somebody feels that this is a problem that is really pressing, then they can vote it up so that the solution is see that first. That's the whole idea. And then eventually my plan is to start creating smaller teams, which is basically for refined problems. So once the problem is refined to a level where it can potentially be solved. So as I mentioned earlier, eat the elephant with a teaspoon. So if it's a bite-sized problem and we can now work on it, specific to that problem, then the team comes together in terms of what solutions do we need. The lateral thinkers would be best placed to identify we need somebody of this sort in policy. We need this kind of solutions in, I don't know, AI. We need this kind of human capital development required or a training program required, etc., etc. So the idea is that I start creating smaller teams around a problem, which start getting the necessary support from the ecosystem, which inshallah we're building, project management support, financial modeling support, any particular training that is required, again, etc., etc., will be provided through the ecosystem. So this particular smaller team can reach a startup pitch. The idea is venture building is going on. So we want to get ideas to convert into businesses. That is the first phase, and we need to see some success stories for this to become an actual momentum. So the initial part of the exercise that we are in, and it's basically been 2-3 weeks, to be honest. We haven't really built any momentum. We just put a community together, and this is the first proper meeting on where we are trying to talk about what we have built. The idea is that this continues, projects start coming in, and we start getting to pitches which can be put in front of investors. Already some investors have reached out to say, whenever you're talking about ESG or social impact or charity or something that creates an impact on a larger set of population, please bring those ideas to us. We have funds available from government, from various kind of sovereign wealth funds. I sit in Saudi Arabia, alhamdulillah, so I have access to PIF and other kind of opportunities where the government is actually very interested in investing. I've got connections now in World Bank where they're very interested in social impact type of projects. So I'm actually less worried about how it will happen. I'm an executioner myself, not executioner like kill people, but project manager. I'm also got a very good network in investment. So I'm actually less worried about how this will happen. I know how this will happen. What I really want to work on right now is the right problem spaces, refined into problems, and converted into startup pitches. This is the part that we need to do right now. Everything else will flow from there onwards. We've got venture builders sitting to waiting for ideas to be brought in front of them. We've got investors waiting to be putting money behind those ideas. The latter part is pretty ready. The beginning part is where we need to work on, and I'm pretty positive in the next 2-3 months if I'm able to create the necessary momentum and the right people working with me. Very important that the right like-minded people who are going with this cause work with us. This will work. This is a no-brainer for me. So thanks for sharing that, Abdullah. This is very much aligned with what we are trying to do. Dr. Mayer, please share your views.
Okay, I think this is going in a very right direction. But one important point that I would like to raise is to make it a success. I think we would have to address a very key problem, that is most of the entrepreneurs, they come from two segments. Either they have few $million in their bank accounts and they leave their job and they say we are risk takers. So they take pride in it because they have few $million in, or they have their dad's business to in case things go south. Or they are the university dropouts. They're not able to get enough opportunities in the market, and they become the entrepreneurs, and things work for them. But here I see a lot of people who are actually well settled in their roles in their day jobs as a project managers or some executives or C level or D level. So they're making like $10,000, $15,000 a month, and they run their kitchen. And it is very difficult for them to take that leap from that fixed income to the business or the entrepreneurship. So that is, I think, they have all the ingredients to become the innovators or the problem solvers or the business persons. But that leap from the fixed income to, I think that is one critical problem to solve in case we need the solutions or solutionists from this particular group. So how we are able to help them to take that step from from the salaried class to becoming a business person. So I think this is not a Pakistan related problem. This is a global problem. They have all the ingredients in the that are required for the DNA of an entrepreneur, but they don't have enough backing, you can say, to take that journey. So how we are helping them to convert them into the businesses.
Sure. Thanks for sharing that, Dr. Mayer. We'll take Omar Paul's point, and then if I'll add something more. Omar, you're on mute.
So that's always a classic thing, right? The mute. Dr. Omer, that's a very good point. I myself in a very similar position. What I try and do is I get involved through my network, through different people, I get involved in projects on the side. So it's a bit of a soft landing. I'm a consultant for many years. I do advisory work. I've been involved in building businesses as well. I can see an opportunity here right now, as Omar pointed out as well, which is the right people getting together and actually creating an effective consultancy, basically, which runs on the side, right? It doesn't have to be full on at the moment. And if you imagine, the BCGs of the world or the PwCs of the world, they go out and tackle problems which corporates give them. And what we can do is something very different, and maybe set up an entity that's actually a commercial entity. And maybe I'm going fast forward too quickly, but the focus of this entity is to basically identify problems, projects, bring communities together, and actually then run those projects. And we'll get a lot of attention in the market, I'm sure you'll see. And as the attention picks up, it becomes more commercialized, right? So that's where investors come in and they say, you know what, I love what you're doing. I want to put some money into this project. Let's get started. But it is a soft landing. Completely agree. I don't think any one of us, or certainly me, can just drop everything I do on a day-to-day basis and focus on this full time. Today is Saturday. Most people are off, but we're all excited and interested to be here. I often find myself working on Saturdays and on Sundays and evenings as well. I have evening meetings with various people to actually build out projects and businesses. And I'm sure that kind of approach, if you've got the will and you want to invest your time, and I know that you do anyway, but for others also on the call, is to get together like-minded people, right? That's what it's all about. So I think it's very doable, using a soft landing approach, and those people become even more seasoned entrepreneurs because they know the difficulties of building a business from scratch. So I think it's a very exciting opportunity, actually. And Omar, maybe this is something we should think about, is establishing, and I know we've kind of established this community already, which is great. And as the community matures, the right people perhaps get together and we set out on broadcasting this, not just community, but as an entity that's focused on getting the right projects, bringing the people together, running those projects, commercializing those projects, and actually having those spin-offs.
Sure. Thank you, Omar. Thank you, Dr. Omer. I can already tell you that what you're thinking is already in place. What the entities that you're talking about are other venture builders. So I'm not alone in this. We're looking for potentially creating at least 1 to 10 venture builders in each country. And everybody takes some responsibility. So for example, I'm already establishing my company in Pakistan, which is going to be a venture builder of this sort. But rather than partnering or creating JVs with other venture builders in Pakistan, I'm actually encouraging 10 other people to create ventures of themselves, because we'll simply be creating a pipeline of a size which will need venture building in different sectors and different verticals, so people can take their own niches. So what you're saying, Omar, is already in motion, because as I said, I'm not sharing everything because it might be overwhelming at this stage, but the latter part of the value chain is ready to receive ideas, whether it's in Pakistan or UAE or Saudi Arabia or US, I'm not too convinced about Europe yet, but there would be one opening up potentially in Netherlands. But the idea is that we do venture building at scale, and venture builders talk to each other to be able to group up, collaborate, and convert these problem spaces, which have relatively defined problem solution fit, product solution fit, put money behind it and start creating businesses. So the latter part is building. It's building over there. To answer Dr. Omer's comment as well, maybe what you're seeing here, Dr. Omer, are those kind of people which you think have reached a place and are very waiting for the salary. And I totally appreciate that, because I am that as well. But I'll bring my coaching experience in a little bit. The people I have worked with in the last 4 or 5 years with my executive coaching, I actually feel there are a lot of people who don't want to do the job. They just don't know how to transition out from taking care of the kitchen, the school, the bills, and etc. They just don't know how. And I love how Omar Paul put the word soft landing. The economists are using this a lot as the Fed rate are coming down. But that's exactly what we need. We need to create a safer environment, because it will not be risk-free. Entrepreneurship cannot be risk-free, but it is too high risk right now for people like those. But the motivation is there. If we are able to create an environment, which we are trying to do, which allows them to have sufficient safety net to be able to say, okay, this looks like somebody has put money behind this now. So I can try this for the next 3 years and convert this into a business which can grow. Then we will find people like those who can, quit their jobs and get into this. But that's definitely not my intention, by the way. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody, and we don't need to convert everybody to be an entrepreneur. All we need is to create more entrepreneurs. At the moment, the balance is not good. Most of the people who are coming out of university, and I'm not just talking about Pakistan, actually, around the world, we are still trying to continue the industrial revolution, where you need workers. So the universities are producing workers, unfortunately, even more so in countries like Pakistan and Africa and India, and all these high population countries in the eastern side of the world. This needs a whole shift. And that's where our people solutionists are already working on ways to create the entrepreneurial mindset right from the grassroots of schools, at home. We as parents need to, do a little bit of that as well, whoever is a parent, just to create this mindset of entrepreneurship as a profession as well. It's not that you have to study something and go and do a job. There is a time, there's a point in time where you can do a job for a little bit and then come out with a relevant safety net to be able to do entrepreneurship, because the world definitely needs more job creators right now. And the freelancer evolution has proved it, by the way. If anybody is following the world after the great resignation in US, we are seeing freelancers coming out right, left, center. People don't want to work in a 9 to 5 environment. People don't want to going to work every day, stuck in traffic, deal with the politics of the office, and etc., etc., etc. People actually want a solution which allows them the freedom, create more impact of their time. So they're not just doing something for the paycheck. People want this. This is something that is a human need. And I'm seeing that in my coaching practice. I get this from other coaches that I speak to, that the kind of challenges that are coming for the coaches these days is a lot to do with not finding purpose in life and not finding fulfillment in what they're trying to do. And I believe by solving complex problems that we are picking up, it actually create impact through an ecosystem that we are trying to build with all the support provided. We'll be able to address that big existential crisis that the world is either already in or very soon going to get in, with more and more individualism and the social media, and we can talk about this in other sessions. But this is a problem waiting to happen, and this is the time to address it. And this is my, let's say, approach and solution to that. Kamal Khan sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Umar. Yeah, coming to this exactly this point which you have raised, I think in the next couple of years, and it's not only the AI. AI just become the buzzword in today's times, and it will actually fade away. Not the AI itself won't fade away, but this all the hype around it, and it will fade away by some very practical approaches which businesses will be using. And it's generally the overall technology. Obviously the technology is now going to be fueled by developments in AI, but it's not alone the AI that's going to change the world. So yeah, the world is on the brink of a major change, and this is going to be they're already calling it actually the fifth industrial revolution, right? A number of terms related to it. So the point is that what is happening globally is that now investors are trying to how would I put it? They are trying to redefine problems, and they are trying to redefine projects based upon solutions that incorporate new technology. And since AI is the buzzword, so they are seeking for AI generated solutions. I would say generated. I'm sorry, AI supported solutions. And I've been working into AI for the last 2 years, and actually rigorously for the last 6 months. And I've you can do if you have 4.0, just a paid version of ChatGPT, you can do wonders. But the point is that somebody pointed out it earlier. It is based upon statistics, so it is based upon data. And in order to inject the right sort of data and to train your model to do the right stuff, that requires a quite a lot of expertise. That cannot be generally supposed to have a no AI is supposed to have a general knowledge base that will encounter that will actually answer all of your questions. So you can even ask anyway. So the point is that the new solutions have to be they have to be redesigned and actually redefined. So now I think the investment, and actually it is happening in the Australian market, because I've seen investors over there as well, but they are taking the AI buzz consciously, and they are trying to redefine projects based upon the new technologies, the AI, the RPA, the neural engines which are being developed, even the gaming engines. They are actually being pumped up into the business arenas now. So there is a lot. So I mean, understanding this scenario is also one of the major steps into moving towards uh, solutions for projects. So these are my like 2 cents, but I think yes, the community is on the right track, and we need to work rigorously for this. Thank you, Umar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaman sir. Not 2 cents, I would say. That's a lot more value than you put to your words. It's about the foresight and where the world is going, where the trends are building. In fact, we have some time, depending on how it goes, we can actually do a dedicated session on the use cases of AI that are already getting implemented. We have people in the group who shared, I know, who are very, very excited to share what they are doing in their workplaces, and we could do a whole dedicated session on the kind of use cases that we are seeing, what is getting worked on. And AI is just another technology. It took 20 years to mature. I studied AI 20 years back in university. It's becoming mainstream. Soon there'll be something else. So this is just how the evolution happens. But the things that don't change is humans being at the center of it. And that's, I think, a separate session altogether, where we'll talk a little bit about philosophy and how the human has remained at the center of evolution since the beginning of time, and technology just keeps us moving. So thank you, Dr. Sab, Kaman Sab, for sharing that. Let's get to Binish. Binish, please share what you're trying to share.
Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to share two, three few points which were coming to my mind. What are we doing to develop future leaders? Are the universities or the workforce or the kind of environment that we are in? Are we developing future workforce? Do we have the capacity to develop future workforce not only for Pakistan but globally? Secondly, for the workforce, what are we doing at university level to help them understand the professionalism that they need when they are going within Pakistan or outside of Pakistan? Are we giving them the proper guidance, how to be a proper workforce, how to develop professionalism, how to be proper? And my third point is that when people are preferring to work from home, are they actually hiding away that, I don't want to deal with this politics, I don't want to deal with difficult people? So are we seeing in future that people will be able to handle difficult people, difficult situation, or take difficult decisions, right? So are they just running away, or they just want the laziest solution, the easiest solution is to work from home, hide away? Are we doing that? So these are the three questions which were coming to my mind.
Finish all three, and in fact, there were at least two more embedded questions in your three questions are problem spaces. This is a problem of our time. As parents, as leaders who want to create more leaders, as educationists, as anybody in the HR profession, this is a problem of our time. You asked yes, no questions, so it's difficult to answer yes, no. It's actually needs a bit more of, I would say, elaboration. And I would really like the people solutionists, the educators in the room, and I think Aman Sahab has raised his hand. We'll come to you, Kamal sir. But I think the people solutionists would rather answer this better. And if I'll share my views at the end. Let's take Saeed Ali Jafi's view, and then we'll come back to Kamal sir. Welcome, Ali. If you can switch on your video, please. Yes, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Ali, I worked with Umar some time back, ages ago. Yeah, I think all of them are valid point, and I've seen this happening in different groups, in different community, and in different company. But I think the best way to go is to narrow down to certain challenges and start working on, because the world has so many problems, and problem never stop, and they're part of life, right? So I think looking at the group right now, I've learned that we only got opportunities, we only got challenges, and we only got lesson to learn moving forward. But in order to move forward, I think we have to be very specific to move on. When we general at the moment, we are talking very general. And when you speak general, there's problem everywhere. That is part of life. You cannot run away from it, and it can't run away from you. You have to, just like your shadow, right? So I understand that. But I think if we are more specific on maybe choose five problems or maybe 3 problems and focus for a month or maybe 3 months or 1 year, we will probably reach somewhere, rather than discussing like the travel issue is by cases. And it doesn't have to be Pakistani or it doesn't have to be European. It depends where you are, what they're looking at, and what scenario you are. It could be anyone. It could be an American. It could be British. It depends. So that happened, but it happens to Pakistani more is because sometimes the documentation is not correct. Sometimes the country you're traveling to. So there's so many reasons, so many stuff there. But I just want to conclude that I think it's a great initiative to move on. But I think if we have a focus-based approach, it'd be much better.
Thank you, Ali. I think my only response would be what I gave earlier as well. Maybe you didn't join at the time. We are in the process of refining these problems right now. So yes, we have started from a macro level. All utopians were given the permission to just go broad or local if they want to. So we will get all levels of problems. All problems are already grouped up. If you see the Padlet community, they're grouped up at the world, specific country, or inner circle or family or individual. So it's a matter of just putting problems. It's like a complaint box almost. So I'm appreciative of, whichever level people want to think. But at the moment, we're trying to grab these spaces and refine them with the help of the community. Eventually, they will become bite-sized problems which need solving, teams put together with the solutionists, and then inshallah we'll get down to getting to pitches and investment. So the idea is definitely not to solve complex problems as a complex problem, but rather break them down into smaller problems and each eventually contributing over there. And 3 problems to solve is a great idea. We need some success stories, but because we are trying to do an ecosystem play, there will be many more. But yes, a particular set of people might be working on only one problem, and smaller meetings will start happening in smaller groups with good coordination with our agile project managers, which I'm still collecting, who will drive these in MVP style, sprint style, deliveries. So that's all the mechanics of how this will work. But there is definitely a place we have to start, and it's better to a good start would be from the top. Binesh, you still have a comment, a follow-up comment, or that's from before? Okay, Binesh is gone. Kaman Saab, you dropped your hand. Would you like to add something on that?
Yeah, just a two-liner. Like, it's a new world. When there was a transition from the agrarian society to the industrial society, it took around 200 years. Now it will not take 200 years. It will just take 10 years. If we count it from, let's say this is day 1. So because the technology and the pace of technology and actually the pace of resultant pace of communication is so, like, we are here 50 plus people from all of the world and communicating seamlessly. So the only thing is that let's focus on what's coming ahead. So that's my entire focus. That should be the entire focus. What's coming ahead, and how are we going to tackle new situations, new frameworks, new mindsets, actually, because this is what evolution is all about. So if we are able to grasp upon it now, then you can have all the entrepreneurship and everything, because if we have entrepreneurs based upon even 5-year-old paradigms, that's not going to last. So yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Future focus. I think you're just emphasizing on the future focus required rather
Yes.
than solving. Well said, Kaman sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shahzad, yes, please go ahead. We can't hear you, Shahzad, if you're speaking, and please switch on your video as well so people can see you.
Can you hear me now?
We can, yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay. So actually, the question I have is that let's say I want to solve a problem which is in the education or tech space. The problem really is that how do we ensure that we have ethical, ethics like part of our education. We talk, we take like any problem here, like I saw your Padlets. You talk about climate issues. You talk about like parenting, like anything, like it all goes back to morality and ethics. People, if they have like right ethics and right morality, I think that will shape up your workforce and your practices and policies and everything. And having laws actually are not enough. Even when you see like read our Quran or religion, you see that even when you are given like a law, it still talks about and encourages about morality, that you should do it like the best way possible, follow the law. So that's one thing I feel like this is one of the core problem areas that at least I would want like just to focus on. And if I'm going to focus on that one, I just want to understand what's like the process look like. What are the steps that I should be taking to like come to like a bite-sized solution that we can do, and with the focus of like starting with my local community, then going to my national level, and then I think this need is like global right now. But we talk about Japan and all those nations that we are good in ethics. Everybody wants them to be like that, but we got to do a job here, and I think Pakistan needs this to be done. More than anybody, any nation outside. So yeah, that's my feedback or my questions.
Thank you, Shadad. And I know I was just looking at the list of people here. I know personally there are 3 people in the group who are listening to you who want to solve this problem. At least 3, and there might be more who have not spoken up. I would highly recommend you put this problem. I think we already have this on the problem space, but please, if it's not, please put it there. If it's already there, then please share your comments at the bottom. I can assure you this is something that is on the mind of a lot of people in this community. I don't know about others I speak to, but we definitely want to go back to the matrices as in the Godfather. Some of the basics of raising the next generation, fixing some of the ethical and moral values that are ingrained. We're simply not focused on that, and no law can make somebody do what is right. You cannot have a comprehensive policy to cover all possible things. So I really appreciate that you've shared that with the group, and I know that the 3 people who are listening, you know who to talk to, because you've got one more partner in this agenda, and let's solve it. This is exactly why we are here, in a smaller space to start with, and then eventually grow it further. So thanks, Shahzad, for sharing those views. Shamail, welcome.
Thank you so much. So between what Kamran Saab has shared, what Omar has said, what Binish picked up on, and now what Shahzad Bhai has also kind of spoken about, one of the things that I feel that lacked during the time when I was going through college and university was the fact that students, at least in Pakistan, from what I can say of my experience, because I've studied here only, we were very disconnected with what was happening in the real world at that point in time. And that still holds true to a lot of extent. Maybe master's students are still engaged with a lot of workshops or a lot of externals coming in to have a 30-minute or a 60-minute session to talk about what they're doing today. But a lot of bachelor-based students still do not have access to what real-world problems are being worked on and solved today. So I feel one of the things that I would encourage this entire group to focus on is if we can have certain contacts to be able to inject some of us who are working on real world problems, who are solving things with AI, with tech, with multiple domains, to be able to kind of insert ourselves for these small 30-minute conversations with the younger minds. That I believe is going to help stem a lot more entrepreneurship in these children to be able to start thinking from that perspective. Because I feel personally, within Pakistan at least, the perspective from which a lot of these students are coming and the family backgrounds from which a lot of these students are coming, they are being designed from all aspects to become workers. They are being designed to go to college, to get their 4 years of education, only to be able to work in an environment where they can get more money out of it. So that needs to be solved. And to be able to solve that, what we need to really do is start embedding into these younger minds what entrepreneurship is all about, how problems are solved, and effectively that will help convert a lot more people a lot faster towards entrepreneurship, towards trying to solve the same problems we're trying to solve, but in our bubbles where we're already jumping between our 9 to 5s and then small projects that we're working on the side here and there, and then certain entrepreneurship levels within our own circles, and we're struggling with our time, but these kids will not be. So I personally feel that we need to start injecting ourselves to these students a lot earlier, and if that becomes a successful project, then maybe go back further, go towards O levels and A levels, go towards grade sixers and grade fivers, and embed, inject into them what these problems are about and how they can be thought through. And eventually you will have more entrepreneurs come in. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Shumail. I love how people share gems and call it 2 cents. That's very humble of you. And I love your term, the contract. You know, it's like a social contract almost. Nobody needs to force you to go and talk to a set of young children in school. It's something that there's a calling inside, and I think it's a great idea that we make a social contract and try to spend time with our young generation. And we are parents, we anyway spend time with our children, but it can be so wider. You can call in, 5 or 6 children at home, spend an hour with them, share your views of what is ethics, what is morality in this real world of social media and all the things that's coming. I really appreciate how you use the term contract as a social contract. I really appreciate that. Dinesh, you want to add something to that?
Yes, UTP, you picked the right thing that, we as a community at home, what we are doing, maybe we can call in like 5, 6 people. And I was just thinking of one meme that I saw recently. It wasn't a meme, it was just a discussion that Shah Rukh Khan said that my son is not going to listen to me. Maybe he will listen to Saif Ali Khan or someone else. So we know this thing. We have been there. We never listen to our parents. We listen to different people. So maybe at home, if we can establish that kind of a community that we can have, cross people talking to the children, to the younger lot, make them understand what are the downsides of using too much of social media, what are the downsides of doing this thing of, smaller things, smaller topics. So maybe that would be a great start to speak to the younger lot and try to understand what are they thinking, what are their perspectives. And when हम लोग जब अपने parents खुद नहीं होते, हमारे खुद के बच्चे नहीं होते, so we are more listeners, we listen to them, we try to understand, and then within our colleagues या जिनके बच्चों के साथ हम बातें करें, we can also talk to them that, this is their perspective. Children do open up with people they don't know, they don't have a blood relation. So maybe we can do that as well.
Sure, Dinesh. Thank you for that. I think there are at least 2 people who don't understand Urdu. So just that little part that Dinesh mentioned, Dinesh, if you can please repeat that little part where you say you were emotionally in Urdu. Can you convert that to English for us, please?
Yeah, so basically what I was trying to say is usually what happens is that we don't listen to our parents, but we do listen to our peers. So basically when we have a get together, we can sit with the younger lot, the elders, maybe not just males, but females as well. They can sit together and they can talk to the children about maybe using social media, general topics which they don't get to listen, not just to blame them or to be more aggressive towards them, but to give them a limelight that this is the impact of this thing, using too much of social media or too much of hanging out with friends, not reading books, smaller topics which you think is going to create a impact on those younger lives. So I think we should do that, sit with different people, different children, different generation, speak to them about all these things that we are facing, and we are already talking about it amongst ourselves. Why not just sit with them as well? Gen Alpha, Gen Zs, sit with them and talk to them and try to figure out what they are feeling, what they are trying to understand, and what are their perspectives.
Great, Venus. Thanks for sharing that. And as a student of psychology, I can share with you that the research has proven that when kids turn teenagers, particularly, and I'm now dealing with as a parent as well, they actually there's neurological changes that happen that make them not want to listen to their parents and a different voice. It is just happening. It's not that they're trying to rebel or not listening to their parents. There's actually neurology that's happening behind the scenes, which is causing this. So it's a wonderful idea. And Vinesh, by the way, just for information, we are trying to implement it here in smaller circles and in the place we live, where I would volunteer to, particularly the sons, because that's where we are in Saudi Arabia. So the sons of my friends, I would talk to them in a group. Then my son would be part of, another set of fathers would speak to them. And this is a wonderful idea if we just agree as again a social contract where all fathers can contribute in smaller discussions, bringing their expertise, bringing their experience. This is a wonderful idea, which is at least already in practice with us, and I would encourage other people to do that as well. Ghulam, yes, please go ahead. You have raised your hand. Please switch on your camera so people can see you.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And this is the first time I am being a part of this kind of community, and it is something really great to listen from all of you guys. So I am more interested into the execution part, which is the later part, as Umar Bhai have mentioned, and all my experiences previously is like that. But one of the problem I would like to highlight is the negative impact of the social media. Like it is something which is hitting very badly persons with like weak self-awareness and self-management. So this is something like I'm looking forward like to come up with some AI coach kind of thing which can help people with these kind of issues. And this problem is just not related to specific age. Like it is something like this is hitting like all kind of ages, like from children to youngster and people with higher ages. So this is something I am looking, and I am here with my expertise, and definitely to learn more from the seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ghulam. Could you share a little bit more about what you're trying to do with this AI coach?
So like this will help first like a kind of assessment would be conducted with it will be kind of an application where you will just go down and list your problems. Okay, like the problem which we usually see, like laziness, addiction, and then we can come up the AI coach on the basis of the content or on the data from the outside the world can suggest some problem, some solution to that. So it's very on high level because what the idea came to me from the application which we are seeing like for physical activities, for exercise and all this. So this kind of thing like would be definitely I'm not sure whether anything is available in the market right now, but like this is something which we can definitely work on.
Yeah, so I can tell you already that there is a startup in one of the Scandinavian countries where they're actually trying to replicate professional coaches into AI, and not as a chatbot, but more as a visual generative AI. So you could actually talk to somebody. I'd be happy to connect you with them if required, because I contributed into some of the behind the scenes work that needs to happen. I would recommend you put this in the solution space, what you've identified, so that it can be further refined, and we know that there is somebody working on such a problem. I think it's very useful for scaling coaching, because there are simply not enough coaches to the demand that is there right now. And that's why coaches are very expensive also. I think to be able to make it more accessible, AI coaches would be the solution, and we need something of the sort. So thanks for sharing that, Ghulam. That's really appreciated. Yes, Jamal, please go ahead.
So something that you said reminded me a lot of something that I really want to speak about. I personally believe that psychology, as not just as a subject, but psychology as a principle, psychology as understanding how to spend life, is something that is not in curriculums, not part of early stage growing up, and I personally feel that is something that needs to be really focused on. Um, my children's school is focused a lot on bullying and helping others and understanding the difference between the subject. They have an anti-bullying week happen as well. They go through all of these neurological changes and teach these children how certain aspects are converting their actions to other actions. So when a school impacts psychology to that level, and when it starts explaining to these young children what psychology is all about, they are tuned, or they can be tuned to also understand how psychology is used negatively in marketing to be able to sell more to us when we should not be buying it, versus how psychology can also positively impact us to get us out of negative cycles and to be able to kind of help us push forward when things are dark and when you can't see that faint light at the end of the tunnel. So if anyone can help get psychology to become an actual part of real life, not for people at this age when we get into it more along the lines of coaching and understanding these frameworks, but at a very young age, so that kids can also understand that everything from marketing to tech implementations, etc., are all based on psychology at the end of the day, and we're all trying to solve problems for humans. So I personally feel that psychology needs to come in, and people need to help kind of push it at very grassroots levels of education all around the world, so that it becomes a regular part of our cycles.
That's a brilliant suggestion, Shamail. And I think as Manur has just put in the chat, this is something you should add into our solution space, and potentially educational policy. We'll have to actually influence curriculums to be able to do that. I already know somebody who I'm trying to get into the community who has access to influencing the educational curriculum, both at bureaucracy level as well as Ministry of Education level. And actually, I believe I'm actually changing my opinion about the potential possibilities. I'm talking about Pakistan now specifically. We actually don't get to see the strength of our bureaucracy. We only see the negativity of our bureaucracy. There's actually quite very smart people sitting in our bureaucracy who are just not able to do things because of the other handcuffs that are around them. But there is a way to influence education policy in Pakistan, and I'm trying to get this person in our group. So please capture it, so at least we know that we're trying to solve it, and inshallah we'll get deeper into it.
I always say if there's somebody who can pass the CSS exam, they're smart people and they can do a lot of things. But we also need to, understanding psychology also, we also need to make sure that it doesn't become a textbook in a curriculum. It actually becomes something that is an ongoing process of subjects of conversation. So it needs to be a short pass of every subject, every book, but not become a textbook of their own, because then you're essentially pushing these teenagers and preteens to kind of give up on psychology altogether instead of picking it up.
Practical way of learning. Yeah, I totally agree on that. Okay, so I think last 10 minutes, what I would like people to do who has stayed all the way. So firstly, thank you for sticking around, and hopefully it was an insightful and useful discussion. Let's use this 10 minutes to capture something in the chat. I want you to do two things. One thing that you are taking away for something that you learned today, something that inspired you, something that you are taking away as a take-home message, please capture that. And one thing that you would like us to improve, consider as feedback, suggestion, anything that you would like to do. So these 2 points, if you can please capture in the chat. We have 10 minutes to go, now 9 minutes in our discussion. In the meanwhile, we have had 13 more introductions during the meeting. So thank you for, the community is growing, and community building involves people seeing who's here. It attracts other people like, oh, this is actually happening. So I appreciate the people sharing, and it also helps us at the center find out who's interested in what community needs more help. So I really appreciate your time to put in your introductions on Padlet. And those who haven't done it, please do so after this meeting. Welcome to our community. Okay, so please, before we close, if anybody wants to open their camera, please do so. I would like to take a final picture or at least get it in the recording. So whoever is comfortable opening your camera, please do so. We'll do a closeout picture of everybody who's here. All right, so thanks everybody for your support, and inshallah, please contribute on the Padlets that we have created. Let's start engaging on refining our problems. Use the 5 whys, cause and effect analysis to define the problems. You will find like-minded people, and we are watching all the Padlets very carefully. So we'll start creating teams, smaller teams who will start engaging on their own. We'll allocate a project manager to each initiative so that we're able to coordinate better. And inshallah, we'll start building some proper solutions which will see success through the value chain, which will naturally attract other people into it as well. We are human beings and we love to be working in communities. That's actually the natural calling. The antithesis right now is that the world is becoming more individualistic, which is completely anti to how humans were created. Humans were created to be working in communities and social engagements. And yes, it's digital, but it's still social. So let's fight this narrative. We don't want an individualist society, and I can do a whole thesis on why we don't want an individualistic society. This is harmful for how we were created, but please bring in more people. Talk to me. I'm very available and engaging and very driven on this cause right now. So please engage one-to-one, tell other people about it, and inshallah this recording we'll put on in an edited form. So whoever joined in the middle or later can look at the whole thing. Let's build the momentum. The momentum is there. We just have to carry on. And if you need anything from my side, if you need any kind of support from the ecosystem, just reach out. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, guys. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.